Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Daze and welcome to Wrestling Daze Reviews. I'm a little bit worried because we did just do a watch along and the audio was out of sync with the video. So I've just been doing a few tests. Everything looked good on the test, but I have no idea whether the stream's going to actually look all right or not. So you will have to let me know in the chat. I've got the chat here. So you'll have to let me know live if it's working. But hopefully we don't get any of those dramas because that was annoying. There's no two ways about it, but we did get it resolved. If it is an issue, if it is going to be out of sync, we might just cut the review a little bit shorter, but hopefully we did manage to get that fixed during the watch along. But what we're going to do is go through this anyway and break the whole show down and basically take it step by step. I thought this was, I can see people saying it looks all right. So thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. We will jump into the chat in a bit. So what we'll do is we'll break the show down. People saying it looks all right. That is great. Brilliant. Thank you. Right. So what we're going to do is break the show down and then we'll jump into the chat and see what you guys thought of the show. I thought this was a pretty decent show, actually. I don't think it's the best SmackDown I've seen from Triple H, but I thought it was a strong SmackDown. And really, from the get-go, you know, we start with Imperium. I did have a bit of a question mark as to whether Imperium were going to be together or if that was a one-off. Was Giovanni Vinci on the main roster now? Or is it just a case that he was there just for Clash? But we start with Imperium, and it is great seeing these guys back together again. Seemingly Giovanni Vinci is here now and is going to be staying. And this was a really enjoyable match. This was a lot of fun. This was something that really enjoyed. And, you know, I said during the watch along, if you're a fan of faction wars and you're a fan of factions or teams trying to establish themselves as being the best team, the best faction, that's very much what this was. This was brawling brutes against Imperium. Really anything goes, you know, there was loads of fighting on the outside, fighting on the inside. You know, there's plenty of times where all six guys were just going at it. And really, it was like, who's going to emerge victorious? So this was fun, and it was a really fun match as well. So Imperium make their way out. We saw some great moments. Sheamus getting a great reaction. I think it was, I can't remember who it was exactly. I think it might have been Daze during our watch-along said, does this mean that Sheamus is a face now? And to be honest, my gut feeling is no, I don't think so. Just because, like, there's nothing here I'm seeing any different from the Brawling Brutes. Brawling Brutes are still doing the exact same stuff they've always done. It's just the crowd are now reacting to them different because I think Sheamus, I think there's a lot of respect for what these two did, Sheamus and Gunther at Clash at the Castle. And I think that Sheamus getting that really positive reaction from the crowd over in Cardiff, that played very well. Because I think that people have kind of slept on Sheamus to a degree. You know, he has done a lot in WWE. He has been responsible for a lot in WWE. Former champion. He's been in the Bar, one of the best recent tag teams with Cesaro, of course. Now he's helping Ridge and Butch. He puts on bangers quite often. He had a great feud with Drew. And I think people maybe have just slept on Sheamus a little bit. So seeing him get that moment, seeing the crowd reacting that positively to him has kind of now bled over into these crowds. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on. They could be in the process of turning them face. But I think in this kind of program, I think he's positioned as a bit more of a face than Gunther. Gunther and Imperium are undeniably heels. But yeah, it's very interesting. I feel like Sheamus is kind of in a grey area at the moment. So it's interesting. But he was getting a great reaction here. Big clubbing blows, crowd loving to count along with them. As usual, they normally do that. But lots of fighting in the ring, out the ring, just carnage to start SmackDown. People loving this. Lots of 4s, 4.5s out of 5s, a few 5s out of 5s as well for this first match. It never quite got to that level for me, but 4s, definitely. 4 out of 5, maybe 4.25, around that kind of ballpark. But it was an Imperial bomb that wins it for Imperium, and Imperium emerge victorious. This match, like a lot of opening matches, takes up the first quarter of the show. This was about half an hour that we were into the show here. So yeah, really interesting stuff, really positive stuff, really fun way to start the show. And what was great is that, it's kind of two teams that can deliver a match of this caliber if given a chance. And they were given the chance and they showed what they could do. And it also meant that Bloodline stuff, we didn't use that up. Normally under Vince, we would have had a Bloodline promo first, then we would have gone into this match. Under Triple H, we just go straight into the match. Amazing match, and it still means we've got to hear from the Bloodline later in the show. So that's a big segment still to come as well. So this worked really, really well. Bottom line, this worked really, really well. Right, then we did get a graphic. They called the Queen a legend. They were like, a legend passed away. And I was like, who is it? And then it turned out they were talking about the Queen. So didn't expect her to be called a legend. That's nice, though. Certainly that's a positive thing to be called. So, definitely appreciate that. But, this was nice. I did wonder if they were just going to put a graphic at the start. I wondered if they were going to do anything at all. But it was actually during the show that they put this graphic up. And I think that's a real classy move by WWE. I mean, I don't know that there was any real obligation for them to do anything. I mean, to my knowledge, she's never been a WWE superstar. So I didn't think that they were under any obligation, really. But I suppose the UK audience is a very big chunk of their audience. It's a very big market over here. And so them paying their respects, I think, was the right thing to do. And a real classy move from WWE. So, yeah, really cool. Really nice of them to do that. I didn't know that they would. I genuinely didn't. Then we got our Bloodline segment. So we then got Solo, Usos, Sami. Obviously, a lot of people looking at how this was going to play out. A lot of people wanting to know, would Solo side with Jay? Would he side with Jimmy? He doesn't really side with anyone when he comes out. He just comes out and says a few words. He basically says, you come for my family, I come for you. And the Bloodline now is bigger and stronger. So clearly making it obvious that he has joined the Bloodline, and we would see them in the main event as well, working together. But he doesn't really have anything positive or negative for Sami. He just comes out and kind of cuts this promo at this stage. What's nice is that Jimmy is like proper showing love to Sami. They're doing like cool hand gesture. And then he turns to Jay, and Jay's just not having it. Again, Sami trying to get everyone to put the ones up, and Jimmy joins in, Jay doesn't. So, there's some nice stuff in here. They're still very much showing that dynamic that Jimmy is on board with the honorary use, but Jay is not. So, we got this. And we then got Drew come out. Drew made his way out during this segment. And he goes to swing the chair at Solo. He's very focused. There's no sword. There's no messing around. There's no smile on his face. No wisecracks. He just heads straight to the ring with a chair. He's looking at Solo. He wants Solo. He knows that he would be champion if it wasn't for Solo. And he goes to swing the chair at Solo. Sami gets in the way. It's Sami that takes the bullet, if you will. So the honorary Uce taking one for the team. And that definitely won him some respect from Solo Sikoa. So, we see the honorary use taking one here. And that puts him in Solo Sikoa's good books. And we would see that later. Then we got a bit of a production botch. This was a bit strange. They were talking about Big Noon Saturday or something. I only know that because it's on the screen. But this was the camera shot we got, which is like a completely dark arena with the Titantron, the big screen in the distance. You can sort of see what it says, but you can't really see what it says. Kind of felt like someone in the production truck needed to get to a different camera angle. Or I don't know, maybe if there was an issue with the camera they were trying to cut to, or maybe there was meant to be a graphic on screen that never shows. Maybe that's a background image and there was meant to be a graphic that popped up and there was a graphic that doesn't appear. Either way, this clearly is not the right thing to be showing at this time. But as they were talking about, Big Noon Saturday or whatever, they were talking about American football, that Fox puts a bit of pressure on them to advertise other things that are going to be on Fox and on the various Fox networks. So they have to talk about these things. But I just included this because this was just an example of something not going quite right. And we've been talking a bit about that recently. There's reports coming out that Clash was maybe not meant to end with that song, and that was something that maybe was for the crowd, and maybe they should have cut it before we got to the song, because, as I said, it was very weird and awkward, and it did feel like something we were maybe not meant to see. It was maybe something more for the live crowds. And there's one bit in particular where Drew turns his back on the hard cam, which is just a massive no-no. You never do that. But he did that at the end of Clash and started singing Don't Look Back in Anger or something by Oasis. So, that didn't feel quite right. I gave another example of when Io Shirai was called up. The graphic said, I think Io Shirai, but Corey Graves was calling her Io Sky. And it seemed like there'd been a conversation about changing the name, but that hadn't got around to everybody yet. So, that was something else that seemed a little bit off. And now, we've got this. So, I don't know. I'm not saying that since Vince went, this has become a bigger problem, but it's just quite obvious that there are a few production errors that have crept in, certainly. So this, for me, was just another example. God, I love these guys. We go to our next match, and this is Aliyah and Raquel taking on, we didn't know who, but it would turn out to be Toxic Attraction. Every time they do their entrance now, and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I do keep saying, go on, Aliyah, pat her on the backside, because she did it, I think, just before the final, and they went on to win. And then last time we saw them, she didn't do it, and I was a bit disappointed. So I was like, go on, Aliyah, do it, and she did it. She did it. She gives as Raquel showing off her prize-winning back, because it is prize-winning. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. Greatest back in all of sports. Aliyah gives her a little right on the backside, just a little. And I see that now very much as a good luck gesture. And it brings them good luck. And Aliyah there doing it. It's a little bit cheeky. Raquel doesn't seem to mind. I don't know. I just really like these two. I really like Aliyah, actually. She brings, she's got personality. She brings a bit of fun. She's not the strongest in ring. And I think she knows that, which is why she's just so happy to be in this position. She's just so grateful to be in this position. It's kind of I think she knows she is at this point in her career, dare I say, overachieving, that is no disrespect to her. That is there's not many people that are making it to the main roster. And, she has been on a journey. She was never the strongest performer or leaned on or relied upon in NXT. It's not like she was a women's champion down there. It's not as if she was in main events. So for her to get called up to the main roster and for her to now be a women's tag champ, this must all just be a dream world for her. So I think she knows that this is a very fortunate position that she's in. I do not begrudge it her, though. I've really become a fan of her in recent weeks and months. So, these two making their way down, and I don't know, this is just something that just always puts a smile on my face. And they win as well. So they take on Toxic Attraction, and this is kind of cool because we actually see Toxic Attraction working together to try and suplex Raquel. She's obviously the threat, so they work together to try and suplex her. Aliyah just runs over and she's like, yeah, starts screaming and hits a spear. I can't remember who she spears. I think it might have been Gigi. But she delivers this spear, wipes out one of Toxic Attraction, just in a real fun moment. And that leaves Raquel one-on-one. She ends up getting I think it was a powerbomb, and getting the victory. And these two celebrate. And it is these two retaining. We know they're going to defend their titles against Io and Dakota on Monday. That's going to be tricky. I am wondering if that's where we see Sasha and Naomi coming back. Sasha and Naomi coming back on Monday, maybe costing Io and Dakota and helping these girls retain. Could be interesting. Or maybe the heels win, they become the new champs, they beat up on these two, Sasha and Naomi make the save, and then that sets up Sasha and Naomi against Dakota and Io for the titles, maybe at Extreme Rules. So I've got a feeling Sasha and Naomi are real close now. I think they're real close. I actually expected them to come back maybe even at Clash. So I think they're real close. I wouldn't want to see these two lose the belts, though. Like, I know that story that we just spoke about is bigger. I don't want to see these two lose the belts. I really don't want to see these two lose the belts. They're really fun. And she kisses, Aliyah kisses Raquel on the head. She's like, multiple times. Like, she's just so happy and grateful. And then when Raquel puts her down, she gets the belt and she, like, machine guns with it. She strikes me. I think the reason why I really like her is everything I just said, in the sense of everything she does is fun. She's living her best life. She knows she shouldn't really be in this position. Like, she's exceeding her expectations. She is just loving it, living it, you know, and just enjoying it for as long as it lasts. And that excitement, enthusiasm, it shows itself in lots of different ways. Just even seeing her with the belt going, yeah. I kind of look at that thinking that's what I would do. If I had the belt, I'd be like, yeah. And she's just living her best life, man. So, yeah, I really like these. Then we went to our next match. And this is going to be the Fatal 5-Way. Winner will take on, I was going to say Ronda. Winner will take on Liv at Extreme Rules. It was Ronda versus Xia Li versus Natalya versus Sonya Deville versus Lacey Evans. So Fatal 5-Way. I've got an image here of Ronda making her way down. Reason for that is because she was wearing a pink gi. And this is in tribute to Judo Jean Lebell. Judo Jean sadly passed away a few weeks back, about a month ago maybe. And this was someone that was very close to Ronda's mom as well. He was Uncle Judo Jean. I mean, during Ronda's Strikeforce fights, her UFC fights, Judo Jean would be in the corner. Judo Jean, we've said as well, such a massive name in combat. He was someone that showed Bruce Lee a load of grappling because Bruce Lee, on the set of some of his films, would have Judo Jean as like a stuntman. And Judo Jean showed Bruce Lee that he had weaknesses in his game, and those weaknesses were on the ground. It's all well and good doing the striking, but if you get taken down, what are you going to do then? And so Bruce Lee actually learned a lot of grappling from Judo Jean Lebell. And Judo Jean as well was in one of the very first MMA fights. He was karate and judo, and he was taking on a boxer. And I believe this is like in the 1960s that this happened. So, and he won that as well. And then I believe he was referee for Muhammad Ali against Antonio Inoki, which is also regarded as one of the very first MMA fights. That was wrestler versus boxer, and the referee for that was Judo Jean Lebell. So, I mean, look, we can sit here and go on about Judo Jean. Massive name in combat, and I've seen pictures of him in his like pink gi and Ronda in hers as well, and this was just a nice little... As soon as I saw it, it made me think of him, and then Corey Graves confirmed it on commentary and said it was like in tribute to him. So that was cool. In the stands, we saw Liv. She was had her feet up, having a lovely time. She was just watching and seeing who her next opponent would be at Extreme Rules. Then we got underway with the match. So first of all, Natalya gets armbarred and she taps out. She's the first one that's eliminated. The match actually isn't that long. There's not really loads to unpack with this match. It's not that long, but it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. So Natalya gets tapped out. Then we get like a double submission. So Ronda deals with Lacey and Sonya deals with Xia Li. So they both get eliminated. That takes us down to Ronda against Sonya Deville. and basically Ronda comes out on top. So this goes probably the way it should have gone. I think I was quite interested if the 4 women were going to gang up on Ronda. I did wonder if they got her eliminated early. What would we do then? You know, anyone other than Ronda, I think Liv's favourite. Liv against Sonya, I think Liv's favourite. Liv against Natalya, I think Liv's favourite. Liv against Lacey, Liv against Xia Li. I put her favourite against any of those. She's not favourite against Ronda Rousey, but they kind of had to do the rematch. You know, there's the negativity that's around Liv is largely there because of that SummerSlam result. Now, Ronda deserves her rematch. I know she got suspended, which is why we've not had it, but she's now won this. She's legit the number 1 contender. So she will now get her opportunity at Extreme Rules. I don't think she wins. I don't think that there could be some outside interference. I don't think they'll do, like, you know, the finish they did at SummerSlam, but they'll either have Liv win clean to make her seem like the legit champ, which I think would be awful, because if you're not on board with Liv, you're going to see exactly why they've done that, and it's not going to sit very well, and I don't think that's the right way forwards. I think they'll keep the belt on her, and I could see there being outside interference. There's a couple of people it could be. It could be Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler wasn't able to win the title and at Clash, and she might not want to see Ronda do what she couldn't. So, you know, we did see a little summit later, and we will come to that, between Ronda and Shayna. Or it could be like a return in Charlotte. So there's maybe a few people that could get involved. But yeah, my gut feeling right now is that Liv will retain. It won't be clean, but at least she won't have tapped first or anything, you know? So, and then that kind of puts to bed the Ronda rematch, people wanting to see the Ronda rematch, because she had her opportunity. She doesn't get it done. Liv can now carry on with her title reign, and it puts Ronda into a different feud with someone else. And really it gets them out of Liv's way. So I can see that happening, but who knows? I mean, look, Ronda could win the belt back, but I've got a feeling that she doesn't really want it. Otherwise, why drop it in the first place, you know? Why drop it in the first place? So I've got to think like, I think Liv's going to win here. But that's a little bit in the future. Then we're backstage, and but this is where Solo's like, Roman tells me you're the man, like you're someone to be trusted. And Sami's like, listen, all due respect, Roman does know what he's talking about. And Solo thanks Sami here, because obviously Sami earlier taking that chair shot. There is a bit of an argument between Sami and Jay, and you can see here Jimmy just saying this isn't the time for this. This is about Solo. This is Solo's night. Yeah, we've got to be there for him. And Sami's like, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So I did point this out during the watch along. I don't know why. I'm always just fascinated by the T-shirts and what people are wearing. I just always find that quite interesting, because that is obviously done on purpose. Like, you don't just grab a T-shirt if you're going to be on TV in front of millions of people and shown around the world. You don't just randomly grab something. And once again, look at this situation. So we don't quite know where Solo is. He said that he's in the Bloodline and he's joining the Bloodline, but he's only just arrived. We've only had one promo from him. He is just in a black top, so doesn't feel like he's a proper signed up Bloodline member yet. We could see him in a Bloodline t-shirt next time we see him, but at this stage, we still don't quite know how the main event's going to go. If he's really on board, he says he is, but we don't quite know. So he's just in black. Then you've got Jimmy and Sami, who are on the same page, and they are wearing the same design. And Jay is wearing a completely different Bloodline shirt, because he does not see eye to eye with Sami. You could make an argument like, you know, he's on the same page with his brother, but clearly with this situation, they are not on the same page. So it's kind of interesting. I do find the tops and the shirts quite interesting. We've seen it in the past where the Usos have wore the same design and Sami has wore a different design. Whereas this time we've actually got Sami and Jay seemingly on the same page, and they have shown that. But Jay is just still not on board. So, yeah, I like this. The whole dynamic of this is very, very interesting. Very interesting as to how this is playing out and where this is going to go. Because I think a lot of us are thinking Sami will be turned on and he will then seek revenge. But how far away we are from that, I really don't know. Then we went backstage, saw Ronda and Shayna. Shayna came over. She wished Ronda good luck against Liv. And Ronda's like, look, I know you're hurting after what happened, but do you know what's better than winning? Revenge. And like went to walk off. And that segment ends with Shayna just kind of staring at Ronda in quite an interesting way as she walks away. It's kind of very hard to read what she was thinking, which is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know that she is on board with Ronda. I mean, they're old friends. They're great friends, but there is going to be some hurt after what happened at Clash. And maybe, dare I say, even embarrassment that she couldn't get it done. And so is she going to want to see Ronda achieve what she couldn't? It definitely puts a seed of doubt in my mind. So we'll see how this plays out, but I'm into this. I like this. This is interesting. I think it's giving Shayna something to get her teeth into. And, Ronda being used quite well, being kept quite strong. And we'll see, obviously, how this continues to build. Then we had Maximum Male Models and Los Lotharios taking on Hit Row and Street Profits. The tag. This was a tag. Now, if you're someone that's a real stickler for the rules, I don't know that counts as a legal tag, right? For me personally, if the referee allows it, then I'm not bothered. So the referee has allowed that as a tag, and they've... And I really like this because it fits their characters. Like, I can understand them wanting to not slap hands too hard. They just want to touch pinkies. So that's how they made their tag during the match. And, I mean, look, this is a bit of a joke faction. I mean, they're just posing. They love themselves, out for themselves. I can't see them ever being taken seriously or building towards, like, the tag titles or anything. So I think you have to, I don't want to say take it with just a pinch of salt, but for me, if the ref's going to allow that as a tag, I'm all right with it. And I think it, like, fits their characters. The other thing they did as well, just moments afterwards, is I think they threw someone against the ropes and then hit like double elbows. They went down and they did a bit of a best friends turn to the camera as the camera zooms in. And like that, this moment, if you are watching on YouTube, I've got an image of them both standing and turning to the camera. Now, again, you can look at that and say they should be capitalizing on, their moment. They've got someone down. They should be really working them over and trying to get the victory. And I can absolutely see that argument. But again, you have to look at these two as being not the sharpest in the world. I think they're not mentally the sharpest. I don't think they're the best, most intelligent wrestlers in the world. I think that their love of themselves kind of clouds their judgment, and they just want to pose for the camera and make sure that they look cool at all times. And I think if you look at the characters that way, I think this works for me. So this is one that I think will divide opinion. I can definitely see people that are into their wrestling saying that should be a proper tag. Why are they messing around? I can totally understand all that. But for me, this fits their characters, and I'm on board with it. I think them not being the smartest, caring about themselves and how they look is going to get them in trouble. Yeah, they're going to get hit. They're going to get attacked. They're going to be jumped. But that's their characters. They're just not that intelligent. They would much rather spend those few moments where they should be, really establishing their dominance. They would much rather just stare at the camera and make sure they're looking good. So yeah, I don't mind this. I think it actually kind of makes them gives them a bit more depth to their characters. So anyway, the match continues. It was an all right match. It was all right. We saw Hit Row getting the win. Ashanti getting the pin on Mansoor, and yeah, it was all right. It didn't really do a great deal. I would say this was, I don't know, a bit of a throwaway. I would imagine when we get to looking at the chats, things they liked, things they didn't like, this might be mentioned in the things people weren't that keen on. But there was just a couple of little bits in there that I thought were pretty fun for maximum male models. Then we went to our next segment. At this point, there's only about half an hour left in the show. And our next segment was Alpha Academy coming out. We knew that Braun was going to be involved. Mad heat. Crazy heat for Chad Gable. He spoke about how Seattle weren't even able to keep a hold of their basketball team, referring to the Sonics, the Supersonics, who I don't know where they moved to, actually. I'm sure many of you know, but I remember them being in the old NBA Jam game that I used to play. But I can't remember where they actually moved off to. But yeah, they obviously not around anymore. Nuclear heat for this. I mean, to the point where Chad Gable didn't even know quite how to deal with it. Like, the boos were really loud, and you could see, like, Chad was like, I wrestle back control here. Like, they were going like crazy with boos, and it got quite heated in there. I mean, brilliant that there's something that you can use to generate such heat. But it was something that I think took Chad by surprise as to how nuclear it actually was. But it set up a really great moment for Braun to come out and, get revenge for the fans. Braun did come down. His graphic now says the monster of all monsters. So no longer is it the monster amongst men. No longer did it say, get these hands. It's the monster of all monsters, Braun Strowman. So that was new on the Titantron. So he comes down and starts beating them both up, basically. He powerbombs Chad Gable, and he goes to powerbomb Otis. Corey Graves, who's on commentary with Michael Cole, says there's no way. There's no way. And he does it. He picks him up, slams him down. Looks really cool. And Braun still wearing red. Didn't know if he might change to blue, what with him being on SmackDown, but still in red. As I said, I think that attire is all right. It's not my favourite. I think it's better than what he wore before. So I think it is an improvement. But it's all right. It's all right. A lot of people saying, how do you feel about Braun being back? I think that Braun has got a place on the roster. I think that I don't know if he needs a manager. I don't know that he's got like the wit in his personality or in his promos. I don't know that he's got that kind of charisma. He's got the look. He's got the size. He's got the strength. I don't know if he just needs a manager. I think he might do. I think he might need someone to do the talking for him. Promo wise, he can shout. He can shout into a microphone. But I don't think we're getting much more than that out of him. So yeah, we'll see. I've got confidence that Triple H will use him well. Then we got a graphic about next week. So next week, there's going to be a number one contenders fatal four-way. We've got New Day taking on Street Profits, taking on Alpha Academy, taking on Los Lotharios. So the winner of that will go on to face Usos. Don't know when. Don't know that they announced it was going to be at Extreme Rules or not. But either way, number one contenders match coming up next week. Then we got to our main event. I didn't get a picture of Drew against Solo, but it was Drew against Solo. So Drew against Solo. This one had me a little bit concerned. The point I was making was this is Solo's first match on the main roster, right? Forget NXT, because NXT is watched by about, 500, 600,000 people. So forget that. This is Solo on the main roster. And he's just saved Roman. Now he's got to face the consequences of facing Drew. But how are you going to position him? Like, are you going to have him squashed? Are you going to have him being competitive against Drew? Size-wise, he's not that tall. He's certainly not as big as what, like, Rikishi was. Obviously, well short of Yokozuna. Not even as big as, like, an Umaga. So it's tricky. It's tricky. Like, I don't think they, and I'll be honest, I haven't been watching NXT, so they might have done some stuff, but I don't think that they have done a job of giving him like really anything to win with. It's not as if he's got a move that if he hits it, you're done. I'm not aware of like a killer Solo Sikoa move. I think it would be good if he had one. My feeling is that you could have done this match next week, and this could have been Solo against like a jobber, right? We easily could have had the Ronda match as the main event. Ronda main eventing, winner faces Liv. That easily could have main evented. And what we could have done instead is we could have had Solo versus a jobber. Solo could have destroyed the jobber and hit a sick move. Some kind of sequence of strikes or some kind of move that's like, damn, that is devastating. And the commentators could have put it over. And they could have been like, if he can hit that on, you know, some of our top contenders here, this guy can go as far as he wants to go. And they could really put something over so that at least that way he goes in with some degree of threat. Here he came in and honestly, within the first few minutes, he's about to get claymored. Within the first couple of minutes of this match, he's about to lose. The Usos have to grab him and pull him out of the ring. And my argument was, he's not in a tag team. He's a solo guy. He's someone that you would imagine going after a mid-card title, eventually maybe go into the main event scene. Like, is it good for him to be almost losing against Drew in a few minutes? I just don't know. In his first match, I just don't know. Like, Drew was fairly dominant in this. I mean, honestly, if Solo was getting any joy, it's because of the outside interference of Sami, outside interference of the Usos. There was a lot of skullduggery going on here, and I was just looking at it thinking, is this the right way to book his first match? I just don't know. I don't know if you're making him seem like a threat on his own. Because one of my big criticisms is that they do have the Usos job out sometimes, and obviously Sami does a lot of jobbing. But they do have the Usos. Like last week we saw Drew wipe out like the Usos and Sami. He took out 3 members of the Bloodline on his own. So I do kind of look at that and think, oh man, is that good for the Usos? Is this good for Sami to constantly be getting just jobbed out? I don't know. And with Solo coming in, you think, well, surely they'll protect this guy because this guy's not a tag team. This guy's got to do it on his own. But then the first thing they do is put him in a match with Drew. So I was a bit concerned about it. But basically, lots of outside interference. In the end, Drew does win, but it's a DQ. So, I mean, sort of protects Solo. But I don't think this has made Solo look like a monster. I don't think this has made Solo look like this mega star in waiting. So, I don't know. Make of that whatever you will. But this ends with Karrion getting involved. And Karrion attacks Drew. So, obviously, bell rings. It's a victory for Drew by DQ. And that is how we get to the end of SmackDown. So, that's the final images. The final thing I would say is about the black and white. Not a fan of it. So the black and white, I think, works for like segments that are predetermined. So if there's an entrance that is predetermined and like production know that it's going to happen, it makes perfect sense that it would be black and white. That's part of his presentation. Same with his promos. If the promos that he's down to do are in black and white, makes perfect sense. That is part of his presentation. But these sneak attacks that are seemingly not meant to be part of the show, I know they are, but in the world of kayfabe, they're not meant to be. Like, production aren't meant to know that Karrion is going to be attacking. They're meant to think that this match is going to be Solo against Drew, who's going to win, right? So when he jumps into the ring, as soon as he arrives, the camera just goes black and white. And I found that to be distracting. Like, I didn't think they needed to do that. This is not a pre-planned segment. This is not a pre-planned promo. It's not a pre-planned entrance. This is a sneak attack, which it just makes it seem like it was predetermined. because why would the camera go black and white as soon as he attacks Drew? So I got accused of overthinking it. I completely disagree with that. For me, I found this distracting. I wouldn't do this. I think this is Triple H putting presentation over, dare I say, logic to a degree. So it was just a little downer. It's not the biggest thing in the world. It's not the biggest problem in the world. It's not the biggest downer in the world. It's only a little side note, if you will. But yeah, it was definitely something that I found distracting. And if I was booking it, I wouldn't have done it. For his entrances, his promos, no problem. People were saying that they were doing that down in NXT. And to be honest, I don't care. Because even if they were doing it in NXT, I still think it's rubbish. So I don't care if they did it in NXT. It's rubbish. Like the fact that they change it over to black and white just, for a sneak attack, I think is taking this a bit too far. The only way really, just to play devil's advocate, the only way that I would say you could justify it is if Triple H has had a word with the production truck and he said to them, any time that Karrion is on screen, I want him to be in black and white. So if ever you see him, if ever the cameras pick up on him and you see that it's Karrion, I want you to immediately take it to black and white. Now, if that conversation has happened, then I could say, okay, I understand. That's why they did that. But that's me having to sit here and try and think through why this has happened. And just in the heat of the moment, I find it to be a bit distracting. So, I don't know, just an observation. As I said, not the biggest problem in the world, but I wouldn't have ended it with that. But it ends with the attack, and there you can see Scarlett in the ring as well. Drew gets dragged down, choked out. They did another interesting thing as well. On commentary, they were like, Drew is fading to black, or, the lights are going to be going for Drew, and he'll be fading to black. And as they said that, the show faded to black. So again, I kind of feel like this is a production effect that's kind of being put over, I don't know, rather than just seeing him attack and the show ending as normal. It seems like they were trying to do something here, which to me is worth talking about, because they could look to do other things for other superstars as well. So that was my thoughts. Those were my thoughts when it came to SmackDown. I am very interested to see what people are going to be scoring the show, because I think this was a good show overall. I really do. I think that this was a show that people will have enjoyed. I saw a lot of people giving it praise in our live stream, in our watch along, and it will be interesting to see how that actually equates score wise. So with that being said, we can jump over to the live chat. Let's do that. There it is. So, yeah, let's go down. We've already gone for quite a while, actually, longer than I thought. But we can get a few comments first. WWE has got no plans for Roman to drop the title this year, says Shabazz. Michael said, did you hear Butch will remain as Butch? I didn't. No, I didn't hear that it was going to stay that way. I think that's a shame. I think a lot of people would like him to be Pete Dunne, myself included. Mark said, Drew almost never loses, or at least he never loses clean, says Mark. Mitchell said, did you think the whole internal investigation for airing dirty laundry was a shot at AEW? That's a good point, actually. They did say, it was just mentioned on commentary, that there was an internal investigation into the Ronda, and so it was into Ronda and Adam Pearce, and they said there was an internal investigation into dirty laundry being aired. Did I think it was a shot at AEW? It didn't strike me as that at the time, to be honest. I just thought it was a bit weird. It was just, honestly, I thought there was probably a chance that Ronda was going to be suspended. It felt to me like they were trying to say there is an investigation, but it's not going to affect Ronda tonight. So it's kind of like, how can Ronda attack an official and not be suspended? Well, they told you that there is an investigation that's actually happening into all of that. So to me, it struck me as at first as being that. I totally now can see that you could look at it that way in regards to AEW. if it is a shot at AEW or a little cheeky reference towards AEW, I think that would be disappointing. I think that I've had quite a bit of praise for WWE for largely ignoring AEW. They've definitely fired shots, but I would argue that AEW have fired more. You know, we do see quite regular Tony on interviews saying things, Tony on Twitter saying things. We saw Tony at the press conference. You know, we saw Triple H at Clash. He didn't say anything about AEW, but Tony did on his press conference. And it just tends to be that way, that AEW tend to say more about WWE than WWE say about AEW. So I've got praise for them, just leaving them, letting them be, let them, you know, they're good enough at getting themselves in a mess. You don't really need to stir it or do anything. So if it was connected to that, if it's believed that it's connected to that, or it comes out it was connected to that, I think that would be disappointing, to be honest. I think it'd be disappointing. I'd be a bit down on that. The production botch you mentioned wasn't a botch. It happened because they don't advertise football on the international feed. It happens almost weekly here in Australia, says Chicken Nugs. I can't say I've seen that before, to be honest. I can't say that I've seen that. Maybe it's just something I've never picked up on before. So I honestly don't know, but that's interesting. That's interesting. I appreciate that. Would you like it if SmackDown was 3 hours? Would I like it if SmackDown was 3 hours? Not really. I would actually prefer it if Raw was 2. I think that SmackDown being 3 hours would be hard to fill. I think that 3 hours of Raw is hard to fill. I think that 2 hours is fine. Certainly for the main roster. I think 2 hours is too long for NXT. I think NXT should be 1 hour, and I think the main roster shows should be 2. Whereas at the moment NXT is 2 and Raw is 3. I think SmackDown probably gets it about right. I think an hour for SmackDown, you could argue, might be a bit short. I don't know if I would mind that. I mean, you wouldn't get everyone on every week, but I don't mind not seeing everyone every week. I'm all right with that. I've said before, I grew up with Raw when it was an hour. And when it's an hour, you can't get everyone on. And that's all right, because it's just more exciting. You didn't see Ronda this week, but she'll be on next week. And then the week after that, you'll get Roman, and you just get different like superstars on each week. So, yeah, I mean, like, I would prefer if Raw went down rather than SmackDown going up. But it will never happen. Ronda Rousey fan said, "Are you upset Ronda won or no?" I'm not upset that Ronda won. I think I'm just a bit concerned that she is going to not succeed. To me, she is the best female they have, the most credible female they have. She is one of the biggest female sports stars of all time. I understand she can't just have the belt, keep the belt forever, so you've got to tell other stories. So I totally understand that. I just think SummerSlam was not booked correctly. I don't think many people would look at that SummerSlam result and say that was perfect. So I think SummerSlam booking was off, and I think that's had repercussions. And now we're going back and looking to do that match again. So it's tricky, isn't it? It's tricky. Part of me thinks like it's the right match because everyone's going to struggle to get on board with Liv until this rematch has happened. Because right now it feels like Ronda is the rightful champ. So we do need the rematch. But I do think Liv's winning. I'm mentally prepared for Liv winning. If it's clean, that will be horrific. If I have got to watch Liv Morgan beating Ronda Rousey clean, that will just be nonsense. But I don't think it will be. I think there'll be some outside interference. Brenton said, according to Body Slam's website, the main event match was no DQ. WWE probably announced it, but I could be wrong. It was a weird finish. I never heard them announce it. It was rumoured it was going to be no DQ, but I can't say I heard them announce that it was no DQ. So all I can say is that I agree. If they did say it was no DQ, then that is a weird finish. If they didn't, which I'm not aware they did, then obviously that's fine. Gordon said, do you think we see Marseille and Mansoir versus Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci in the future? Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure we'll get that match. Whether it's on TV, house shows, don't know. But I'm sure their paths will cross. Michael said, did you see the card changes? I saw it, yes. I saw it. Daze, have Alpha Academy moved to SmackDown because they had SmackDown name graphics, says John Lee. Not seen any rumours that they've moved. I mean, it made sense for them to be here because Braun attacked them on Monday. So it made sense for them to be here, but interesting if they had SmackDown graphics, because normally if you are a Raw superstar, then you would still have Raw graphics, even if you're on SmackDown. So, well spotted. Chicken Nugs said, YouTube teased LA Knight with Max Dupree telling Maximum Male Models go through the day to get to the nights. YouTube teased LA Knights with Max Dupree telling Maximum Male Models go through the day to get to the night. Okay. And Ad Cole said it wasn't a no DQ match. Marvland said, do you think Chad Gable could be the next Kurt Angle? No. I don't. Kurt was a very special superstar. I think massively helped by the fact that he'd won gold. I think that he really got it as well. His booking was, they brought him in as a massive star. They kept him as a massive star. I mean, he main events WrestleMania 19 with Brock. He's got those amazing backstage segments with Brock. He was legit. The story of him winning the gold with a broken freaking neck, it's just hard for Chad Gable to kind of match that and achieve that. And seemingly now he's been used this way for so long, I just can't see him. I can't see them pulling the trigger on him. I can't see him getting out of the mid card. So I'm going to say no, sadly not. Smurftoon said, I believe tag teams can go between both shows as the Usos hold both belts. Michael said, I don't think the main event was no DQ because when Kross interfered, the bell rang. If it was no DQ, it wouldn't have mattered. Brenton said, I asked pre-match, but I want to see if you agree after the fact. How long before Sikoa is treated as badly as the Usos? Is he another lackey in the bloodline? Well, I don't know that. I don't know, is to be honest. I mean, I would not treat him as a lackey. I don't want him to be treated as a lackey. I think treating the Usos as as lackeys, if you will, is not great. But they are a tag team, and so individually, I don't expect them to be as strong as a solo wrestler. I expect them to be tag team specialists. So I expect it to be a case that the Usos are, work better together, basically. But Solo is different. He's not in a tag team. He is, a street fighter out for himself. He's got to forge his own path to a degree. So this is why I had concerns about that main event. And to be honest, the jury is still out because I think losing to Drew is one thing. Drew is, absolutely at the top of the tree. You can make arguments he should have beaten Roman. So him losing to Drew is one thing, but it'll be interesting to see how they book him against other talents, like talents in the mid-card, and see where we get to with him. So I don't know. I hope it doesn't get there. I hope they don't use him as just someone to take bumps for Roman. I hope that he is, that's what Sami is there for. Sami is there to take those shots. Sami is there to be the guy that takes the bumps. Really, Sami should be taking all the bumps for the bloodline. Keep the Usos and Solo strong, and it should be Sami that takes all the punishment. So if someone needs to go through a commentary table, it should be Sami. If someone's got to be Claymored, it should be Sami. And they are doing that to a degree. It's just, it seems like even the Usos and Solo are still taking a bit of punishment. So answer is jury is out. Jury is out. Do you think beating Drew? I think it would be ridiculous. It makes Drew look weak just saying this because they are going to have a match soon. What do I think of Karrion beating Drew? We haven't seen much of Karrion. He's been positioned as a big star, but we don't know quite how good he is. Again, forget NXT because it's just it hasn't been connected in the past. Maybe you could argue a bit more connected under the Triple H regime, but even so, Karrion isn't coming from NXT. He's coming from being released. And now he's got Scarlett, and he's more in line with how he was presented in NXT when he was a monster. So this is clearly not the same Karrion we saw on the main roster before. So I would say the jury is out on this version of Karrion as to how hard they're going to push him, how far he's going to go. I think Triple H sees him as a main event player. So I think him against Drew is happening. I mean, the end of this show certainly set that up. And I don't know how you book it. Do you go with Drew? Do you go with Karrion? Which way do you go? I mean, this will be interesting. I think Karrion is seen as a main event player by Triple H. Michael said, commentary said Solo is jealous of his older brothers. That didn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense to me either. I don't know why he would be jealous, unless it's like jealous that they've had so much success already and he's only just getting started and he wants to taste that success. Jealous that they've won titles and, he wants to win titles. Don't know. Weird thing to say, though. That I wouldn't be going with an angle of he's jealous. There's been nothing shown to us to suggest he's jealous. Do you see a triple threat match for the undisputed titles between Usos, Giovanni and Ludwig, and Marseille Mansoir? Do I see a triple threat? I can't say there won't be at any point, but not really. I don't see Marseille Mansoir really getting into title matches. I think they're the new 3MB. They're the new B team. They're there to just put others over, really. I think they're just fun. They care about their looks. They're not the most intelligent. I mean, they haven't got ring smarts. They haven't got amazing fight IQ. So, yeah, I just look at them that way, really. So, I could be wrong. Of course, could be wrong. But I think this is why I don't mind them making the little finger tags or turn into the camera as the camera zooms in on them. Because they're not thinking about winning matches all the time. They're thinking all the time about how cool do I look? How great do I look? Do I look good whilst I'm doing this? So for me, I don't know that they will find their way into tag title matches, but they could do. Trini said, when did commentary say Solo is jealous of his brothers? I don't know. I didn't hear it. Marvland said, the ringside news scoop says Karrion is next behind Roman as the main player in WWE. Who would you have win, Karrion or Drew? I would have. It's tricky. It's difficult, to be honest. It's difficult because Drew feels like quite a big star after Clash. And, the crowd going crazy for him. Great match. I think the quality of the match really helped as well. So, great match. Crowd going crazy for him. Lots of positives. Is it now time to have him lose to Karrion? I'm not sure. But then saying that, what I just said with Solo is the same for Karrion. Solo is brand new. Karrion is brand new. You need to establish these guys as threats. Is it right for them to lose? It's tricky. It's really tricky. That's why I was interested in the booking in the main event tonight, which I think they got a bit wrong. I don't think that Solo should have looked like he was about to lose the match within the first few minutes. And I don't think he should have looked as weak as what he looked. I think they really needed to make him look stronger than what he did. So I think the booking was a little off on the main event tonight. And in regards to Karrion and Drew, that'll be another one that I think will be interesting. I think more than the result, it needs to be a banger of a match. if they can put on like a match like, say, Sheamus and Gunther did, like Sheamus lost against Gunther, but no one really looks at Sheamus as the loser because it was such a banger of a match and he got such a great reaction afterwards that I think it's one of those matches, and it is true, it's one of those matches where both guys come out with their stock being raised. Both guys come out with looking like bigger stars than when they went in, and that is just a perfect result. So I think more than Drew and Karrion who wins, I think as long as the match is a banger, it's like 4.5 star territory, go sneak into 5 stars, like around that ballpark. If it's a banger, then both guys should come out with their stock being higher than when they went in. And that way, if Drew does just pip it, then that's fine. Or if Karrion just gets it, that's fine. But I think more importantly, it needs to be a banger. That way, both stars can come out having not lost anything. So, to be honest, I might lean Karrion. He's brand new to the roster. We need to establish him as a legitimate threat. He needs to be established as someone that can absolutely hang with Roman, with Drew, and he is someone that is right up in the mix. And giving him a loss is not going to help achieve that. So, yeah, but if it is going to go that way, it needs to be a banger. It needs to be a banger. Trini said Drew can lose to Karrion and have a bit of bad luck streak. That will lead him to the title a bit slower. If they won't pull the trigger on him, on Roman, might as well rebuild and restart. Brennan said, who do you see taking the belt off Roman to get to Roman Rock? Does Drew do it later on? Do they keep Roman strong for Cody? I don't think Karrion would be main event if he won't win. To be honest, I don't know that you need to take the Universal belt off Roman. I'm someone that would like to see him get to 1,000 days. So Rock Roman for the Universal title is fine. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. WWE title, we've spoke for hours and hours and hours about how do you get that belt off Roman? How do you get that belt off him? There's ways that you can do it. And I think that Cody is going to win the WWE. And actually, I think he should win the WWE because the WWE is the one that goes all the way back to the 60s. The WWE one is the one, really, that Dusty almost won. Dusty didn't almost win the Universal. The Universal has only been around since 2016. So, like, the Universal, it's been made to feel as big, if not bigger, than the WWE. They've done a fantastic job of really establishing the Universal as a legitimate championship. But it doesn't go back that far. So for me, it's the WWE one that Cody should win. That's the one that his dad almost won. And that's the one he should get his hands on. The Universal is the one Roman should keep because that is the one that will get him to 1,000 days. So I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. There's lots of ways to do it, but we need to get that WWE off of Roman, put it onto Seth, put it onto Karrion, put it onto Drew. I don't give a flip. Put it onto Kevin Owens, right? Whoever you want to put it onto them. And then that's the one Cody should win at WrestleMania. And not win it from Roman, but win it from this other person. I like Drew McIntyre match. I like Gunther match, says Legend Killer. Ad said they said the jealous line during the match, if I'm not mistaken, says Ad. Dylan said, who do you think will win the tag team fatal 4-way number 1 contenders next week? Do you know what? Off the top of my head, I can't quite remember who was in that match. Let's go down and have a look and see. It was... There it is. New Day, Street Profits, Alpha Academy, Los Lotharios. So Usos are heels. That means we need some faces. That means it won't be Los Lotharios. It won't be Alpha. It'll be either Street Profits or New Day. Usos have had feuds with both, but they've feuded with Street Profits quite a bit. Has that feud ended? for me, it's New Day or Street Profits. And I don't know. I feel like Viking Raiders are still in a feud with New Day. I could see Viking Raiders dealing with New Day. I think it'll be Street Profits. And their match at Money in the Bank was fantastic. So, yeah, I think Street Profits. And I think Viking Raiders will still be targeting the New Day. Right, a little bit later than usual, but we've had lots to talk about. Let's have a look at the responses and see where we are. So 7 is what this show gets, which I have to admit I think is very fair. I thought this was a solid show. I thought there was some great stuff on it, but as I said, I thought there was a few things a bit questionable in there as well, and things I wasn't so sure about. So 7 is the score for this one. And let's have a look. Favorite part of the show. Dave Meltzer said Drew lost because WWE want to make Roman the greatest of this generation, and his next match will be at Crown Jewel. Kross at the end of the show. Imperium versus Brutes. Gable taking it to the crowd, and Strowman attacking Otis and Gable. Solo Sikoa appearance on SmackDown and having a match against Drew in the main event, says Hayden. Solo call-up. Really like we had a proper call-up and not a complete change. And the ending, says Anna. Me kind of liking Maximum Male Models, surprisingly. And the 6-man and the Bloodline segment, says Nando. Bailey is my favourite WWE superstar. How do I meet her? She'll probably do meet and greets. She did. Did she do a meet? I don't think she did, actually. I was going to say, I think she did a meet and greet for Clash, but I don't think she did. Now I said that. But they do tend to do meet and greets every now and again. But in all fairness, it only tends to be around the big events. I don't know if they will do some. Whenever they come and do a tour in the UK, they tend to go to like shops and do like little meet and greet things. And Bailey's been one of those before. So I don't know. I mean, like, it might be worth just looking in areas where Raw and SmackDown are. Certainly when there's like a pay-per-view show, there might be like meet and greets in the local area. I think it's something they do fairly regularly. But if not, almost certainly access at WrestleMania. So if you just can't find any information on any of that next March in Los Angeles, there'll be access. And Bailey almost certain to be there meeting fans. Imperium versus Brawling Brutes, Otis and Master Gable. Oh, thank you. Bloodline Ronda, seeing Solo and Braun beating up Alpha Academy. Imperium versus Brawling Brutes was a strong opener, says Sam. Raquel Gonzalez, Braun Strowman versus The Miz and Maurice. I think we've got future booking there. Imperium versus Brawling Brutes and the Bloodline stuff. It seemed to go by quite quickly and it wasn't boring. Solo debut match, Sheamus tag match. Imperium versus Brawling Brutes. Braun destroying Gable and Otis. Sami arguing with Jay. Braun Strowman throwing Otis. Right, we've got all of that. Let's go up and see what people didn't like. People didn't like Jey Uso still being a jerk to Sami. WWE paid tribute to the Queen the second they put the graphic up on screen. I thought that was all right. I didn't think that was a bad thing. You'd think Drew would get smarter about sneak attacks, but he never does. Cringe Row and the jobber who's weren't on SmackDown and Braun beating up Alpha Academy. Why? The 5-women elimination match went too quickly. Your audio turning heel, that's true, yeah. Had to cancel the one stream and like start a brand new stream, which was faffing around for 10 minutes. I still don't know why that went wrong. Thankfully, we fixed it or, got it sorted. And thankfully, it's not affected this, but yeah, nightmare. I miss Austin 316. He's the best moderator. Kinky crosses black and white. Braun just doesn't do it for me. Women's 5-way was too short. The 8-man tag match. Toxic Attraction losing when Karrion Kross came in. Seattle Supersonics. Maximum Male Models. Braun's new music. Ronda Rousey winning. Ronda winning. Commercials. Someone here just said Natalia. I don't think Natalia did anything wrong in particular, but just Natalya, really, was the worst part of the show. So there we go. Right, we are done. Thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed doing these post-show reviews and getting your thoughts. It's great to just like run through the show, get all the thoughts in. I know that it's not easy for people to sit down or even, why would people want to sit down and watch through a whole 3-4 hour watch along? So it's kind of nice to get some of those key points, put them into this post-show review. And as we said, they are available as podcasts as well. I also like to try and take out a few clips and put them onto the new Wrestling Daze Clips channel as well. So I'm going to often do that. But really appreciate you guys joining us. We are back tomorrow at the time of recording this for the UFC show. So that's something else I've got to go off and do. Change all the graphics and information for that because everything changed on that show today. So flippity-doo-dah, there's a lot of work for me to go off and do. But I really appreciate the support. Thank you so much for joining us. And I will see you again next time. Bye for now.